I consider this disloyal, after everything Oceanside Connections has done for you.
Catherine,
No, don't bother denying it. I have confirmation you interviewed with Summit Enterprises last Thursday. You took a half day for a dental appointment, I believe?
My name is Sarah Miller. I'm a young professional and have dedicated several years of my professional life to Oceanside Connections here in Cascade City, Oregon. In those years, I've tripled my client portfolio, brought in significant revenue, and earned the respect of every major account in our roster. But apparently none of that mattered now.
Security will meet you at your desk. You can collect your personal belongings, but your building access is revoked immediately. I've already disabled your email access.
The injustice of it burned in my chest. Repeatedly, over consecutive years, I'd come to this same office with meticulously prepared presentations showing my achievements, market rate salary comparisons, and requests for a well-deserved raise. Years of tough budget year excuses, while Catherine announced record profits at quarterly meetings. I took a deep breath and stood up, straightening my blazer. I understand. Catherine looked almost disappointed by my calm response. Perhaps she'd expected tears or pleading. Instead, I extended my hand across the desk. I wish you and Oceanside Connections continued success. She hesitated before briefly shaking my hand, confusion flickering across her face. As the security guard hovered awkwardly by my desk while I packed my family photos and several years of desk plants into a cardboard box, I felt surprisingly calm. Colleagues shot concerned glances my way, but I smiled reassuringly at them. No drama, no scenes, just dignity. Walking out of those glass doors for the last time, the April sunshine warm on my face, I realized something important. Catherine thought she was punishing me. She couldn't have been more wrong. As I placed the box in my car trunk, my phone buzzed with a message from Robert Sterling, CEO of Summit Enterprises.
Can we move our final discussion to this afternoon?
I smiled. Catherine had no idea what was coming. It's funny how years of your life can fit into a single cardboard box. As I drove home from Oceanside Connections, the box secure in my trunk, I reflected on everything that had led to this moment. I joined the company fresh out of graduate school, eager and determined. Despite my marketing degree from Cascade State College, I'd started in an entry-level position, making coffee runs and organizing meeting notes. But I worked tirelessly, staying late, volunteering for the difficult projects nobody wanted, and building relationships with clients who others had written off as too demanding. Within a couple of years, I was handling our mid-tier accounts. By the fourth year, I'd been entrusted with Summit Enterprises, our largest client, worth a substantial portion of Oceanside Connections' annual revenue. Robert Sterling, Summit's CEO, specifically requested me as their account manager after I'd stepped in during a crisis, when their previous representative dropped the ball. You're the only one who seems to understand what we need before we even ask. From then on, the relationship between our companies flourished, with Summit extending their contract and doubling their marketing budget with us. Catherine had been pleased then.
This is the kind of initiative we value.
Though that value never translated to my compensation. At home, I set the cardboard box on my kitchen counter and stared at it. The reality of what had just happened finally hitting me. I wasn't just between meetings or taking a day off. I was unemployed. The weight of it pressed against my chest, momentarily making it difficult to breathe. My phone rang, displaying my best friend Chloe's name.
I just heard. Mark texted me. Are you okay?
Mark was Oceanside's IT specialist and Chloe's boyfriend. News traveled fast. I'm processing, it happened so quickly.
It's completely unfair. Everyone knows you're the only reason Summit has stayed with Oceanside Connections this long. Catherine is just intimidated because you're better at the job than she ever was.
There was some truth to that. Catherine had been the company's star account executive before moving into management. Many of us suspected she missed the recognition and client relationships, often inserting herself unnecessarily into my meetings with Summit. The worst part is how she did it, like I'd committed some kind of corporate treason by looking for opportunities after being denied advancement for years straight.
It's her loss. And honestly, Sarah, maybe it's for the best. You've been undervalued there for years.
She was right. Of course, I'd stayed at Oceanside Connections out of loyalty to my clients and colleagues, not because it was the best choice for my career, but getting fired like this, escorted out by security as if I were a criminal, that stung deeply. The Summit Enterprises headquarters occupied the top floors of a gleaming glass building in downtown Cascade City. Unlike Oceanside Connections' dated office with its beige walls and aging furniture, Summit embraced modern design, open spaces, collaborative pods, and walls of windows showcasing mountain views. As I rode the elevator to the top floor, I mentally rehearsed what I would say in my interview. I'd need to explain my sudden availability without sounding bitter about Oceanside Connections. Professionalism was key, even when discussing uncomfortable situations. The elevator doors opened to reveal Robert Sterling himself waiting in the reception area.
Sarah, thank you for coming on such short notice.
Robert was a man in his early 50s with salt and pepper hair and a reputation for being both brilliant and fair. Qualities I'd come to appreciate during our years of working together.
I appreciate the flexibility.
It's been an unexpected day.
Let's talk in my office.
He led me through the bustling workspace. Several Summit employees I knew from our account work waved or nodded as we passed. Robert's corner office was modest compared to Catherine's showpiece, but infinitely more welcoming, with comfortable seating arranged for conversation rather than intimidation.
Coffee?
Please. Once we were settled with steaming mugs, Robert got straight to the point.
I received a call from Catherine Hayes this morning. She informed me that you would no longer be handling the Summit account, and that she would personally oversee our business until a replacement was assigned.
I nodded, keeping my expression neutral despite the small flare of anger. Of course, Catherine would try to retain their biggest client herself.
What she doesn't know is that we were already concerned about our relationship with Oceanside Connections. This surprised me.
Concerned? The latest campaign results significantly exceeded projections.
The results were excellent because of your work, but we've noticed changes at Oceanside Connections over the past year. Delayed responses, quality issues with anyone except you, and frankly, a sense that they're taking our business for granted.
He set down his coffee mug and leaned forward.
A few months ago, our board suggested we explore other marketing partners. I resisted because of our relationship with you. You've consistently demonstrated an understanding of our brand and business needs that goes beyond the typical client-agency relationship.
My mind raced. Was he saying what I thought he was saying?
When you reached out about potential opportunities here, it felt like perfect timing. But I need to be clear about something. We were never planning to poach you. We respect professional boundaries too much for that. We were prepared to wait until you gave proper notice at Oceanside Connections.
I was planning to give standard notice once I had a firm offer.
I believe you. Your professionalism is one of the reasons we're having this conversation. Catherine's decision this morning simply accelerated our timeline.
He opened a folder on his desk and slid a document across to me.
This isn't an interview, Sarah. It's a job offer. Director of Client Strategy. You'd be building and leading a team to manage all our external marketing partnerships and agency relationships.
I glanced down at the paper and my breath caught when I saw the salary figure. It was far more than I'd been making at Oceanside Connections, more than I would have even asked for in my most recent denied raise request. This is very generous.
It's market rate for someone with your experience and proven results.
Sometimes it takes leaving a situation to realize what you're truly worth. The offer letter sat on my kitchen table that evening, signed and ready to be returned tomorrow. I'd asked Robert for the night to review everything, though we both knew my answer would be yes. Still, taking time to consider major decisions was a professional courtesy I extended even when the answer seemed obvious. My phone had been buzzing all afternoon with texts from former colleagues at Oceanside Connections. Word of my firing had spread quickly, followed by rumors about my meeting at Summit. I'd responded to a few close co-workers, but avoided getting drawn into office gossip. A text from Mark came through. Catherine called an emergency meeting after you left, told everyone you were terminated for breach of company loyalty, and that we should all remember that Oceanside Connections rewards loyalty above all. The irony wasn't lost on anybody. I shook my head. Catherine was trying to make an example of me, but from Mark's message, it seemed her approach might be backfiring. Another text arrived, this one from Lisa, our receptionist. She's been locked in her office making calls all afternoon. Looks stressed. Guess someone's worried about Summit. I didn't respond. There was no satisfaction in Catherine's distress, only a renewed certainty that I'd made the right decision to look elsewhere. A company culture that valued loyalty but offered nothing in return wasn't one I wanted to be part of anymore. The Oceanside Connections reception area felt strange to enter as a visitor. Lisa's eyes widened when she saw me, her professional smile faltering. "Sarah, you're here for the meeting with Miss Davies?" "That's right," I confirmed, signing the visitor log. Another surreal moment. "I'll let her know you've arrived. For what it's worth, everyone's talking about how wrong this was. You were the best of us." Her words warmed me. "Thank you, Lisa." The elevator ride to the conference room gave me a moment to center myself. I had dressed professionally in a navy suit, not to impress, but to remind myself and everyone else that I was approaching this meeting as an equal, not as a dismissed employee seeking redemption. Susan Davies was already waiting when I arrived, a slim folder in front of her. With silver hair cut in a precise bob, she had the poised confidence of someone used to making million-dollar decisions before breakfast.
Miss Miller, thank you for coming. Please have a seat.
I expected Catherine to join us, but as Susan closed the door, it became clear this would be a private conversation.
I've reviewed your personnel file, years of excellent performance reviews, consistent growth in your account portfolio, and multiple formal requests for salary adjustment, all denied.
She looked up at me.
I was not aware of this pattern. This surprised me.
I assumed compensation decisions were reviewed at the board level.
Major compensation changes, yes, but management has discretion within certain parameters.
Susan's expression remained neutral, but her tone suggested disapproval.
Catherine has been operating with significant autonomy, I see. What I don't see is documentation justifying your termination yesterday. There's no company policy prohibiting interviews with other organizations.
The word used was disloyal.
An interesting choice given the circumstances. She closed the folder. Miss Miller, I'll be direct. The board would like to offer you reinstatement with the adjusted compensation you requested in your last review, plus an additional increase, and the title of Senior Account Director.
The offer was better than anything Catherine had been willing to consider, but it came years and one humiliating dismissal too late.
That's a generous offer.
But as I mentioned on the phone, I've already accepted a position elsewhere, at Summit Enterprises.
Summit Enterprises.
Susan stated, not asking. I didn't confirm or deny, maintaining professional boundaries. My new role begins Monday.
Catherine is concerned Summit may reconsider their relationship with Oceanside Connections given your departure.
And there it was, the real reason for this meeting. Not concern for how I'd been treated, but fear of losing a major client. That would be a question for Summit.
Indeed. One last question, if I may. What could Oceanside Connections have done differently to retain you?
The question was unexpected, but welcome. I took a moment to consider my response. Recognize my value before I had to look elsewhere to find it.
Loyalty works both ways, Miss Davies.
Oceanside Connections expected unwavering commitment while repeatedly demonstrating I wasn't worth investing in. That creates an unsustainable imbalance. She stood, extending her hand.
A fair assessment. Thank you for your candor. Whatever your next steps, I wish you success.
A walking out of Oceanside Connections for the second and final time, I felt lighter than I had in years. This meeting hadn't been about giving me a second chance. It had been about giving me a chance to reclaim my narrative, to leave on my terms, with my dignity and professional reputation intact. I'd been granted an unexpected gift closure. The following Monday morning arrived with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. My new position at Summit Enterprises officially began today, and with it a fresh chapter in my professional life. I arrived early, eager to settle into my new office, a real office with a door and windows, not the cramped cubicle I'd occupied at Oceanside Connections despite my senior role. Robert had arranged for everything to be ready, including a welcome basket and technology setup. At the start of the day, he stopped by to introduce me to my new team, a team of talented marketing specialists who would be working under my direction to manage Summit's various agency relationships. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd gone from managing a single account to overseeing all marketing partnerships, including whoever would now handle the Oceanside Connections relationship. Now, after introductions and a brief team meeting to outline priorities, Robert asked me to join him in the conference room. There, I found several members of Summit's executive team gathered around the table.
Before you dive in completely, we wanted your input on an important decision. In light of recent changes, we're re-evaluating our relationship with Oceanside Connections. Their contract is up for renewal next month. We value your perspective. You understand our needs and have first-hand knowledge of Oceanside Connections' capabilities.
I could have easily recommended terminating the relationship. A swift, satisfying revenge against Catherine. The opportunity to deal a significant financial blow to Oceanside Connections was right in front of me. No one would question it. Business relationships ended all the time. But that wasn't who I was. Revenge might feel good momentarily, but professionalism would serve me better in the long run. I think we should evaluate Oceanside Connections on the same criteria as any other potential partner. Their work has been strong, but consistency and account management will be critical factors to consider moving forward. The email was sent late that morning on the following Wednesday, precisely a week after Catherine had fired me from Oceanside Connections. I hadn't orchestrated the timing. It was simply when Summit's executive team finalized their decision after reviewing proposals from several competing agencies. Robert had given me the courtesy of seeing the email before it went out, though I had recused myself from the final decision to avoid any appearance of bias or impropriety. The message was professional and direct.
After careful consideration of our marketing needs moving forward, Summit Enterprises has decided to transition our account to Zenith Group, effective immediately. This decision reflects our evolving brand strategy and digital requirements. Sarah Miller, our new Director of Client Strategy, will oversee the transition and serve as your point of contact. We appreciate our partnership and request all materials be transferred by the end of the business week.
I imagined Catherine's reaction upon receiving the news. The shock, then the dawning realization of what had happened. Not only had she lost me, but now she had lost Summit, a client representing a significant percentage of Oceanside Connections' annual revenue, and I would be the one managing the transition. The perfect professional revenge had fallen into my lap without my having to orchestrate it. I hadn't needed to badmouth Oceanside Connections or sabotage the relationship. The company's own shortcomings, highlighted by my departure, had done that for me. That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn request from Lisa, Oceanside Connections receptionist, followed by a private message. The office is chaos. Catherine's been in emergency meetings all day. Several other account managers have updated their resumes. Karma works fast. I didn't reply immediately. There was no need to gloat or insert myself into Oceanside Connections' internal affairs. Instead, I focused on building my new team and establishing our processes. Success, after all, was the best revenge. Later, however, I did accept Lisa's connection request with a simple message. Thank you for your kindness during my time at Oceanside Connections. Wishing you all the best. Taking the high road felt surprisingly good. My new position at Summit brought challenges and opportunities I would never have experienced had I remained at Oceanside Connections, waiting for recognition that might never come. Sometimes the best revenge isn't something you actively pursue. It's the natural consequence of valuing yourself when others don't. Looking back on that journey sometime later, I realized that Catherine had inadvertently given me a precious gift, the push I needed to find my true worth. In seeking revenge, I found something far more valuable: self-respect and the courage to claim the success I deserved.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take the material you send us, the stories, the articles, and really pull out the key insights.
Helping you get to that aha moment without, wading through everything yourself.
Exactly. So today we've got a personal account. It's titled, "My Boss Fired Me for Disloyalty. She Regretted It Instantly."
Wow. Yeah, that title alone, it promises some drama, doesn't it? A real power shift, maybe.
Definitely. You sense something big happened right after. So our mission here is to unpack the story, look at the whole loyalty versus value thing in a job, and see what lessons we can pull out for you.
Lessons for your own career or just understanding how these workplace dynamics play out.
Right. That title, though, screams turning point. Okay, let's dive in. Starting with, well, the moment it all went down, the firing.
Okay, so the account kicks off pretty abruptly. Catherine, the boss, accuses Sarah, the employee, of disloyalty.
And she knows about the job interview at Summit Enterprises.
Yeah, apparently Sarah had used a dental appointment excuse, which implies Catherine might have been keeping tabs on her. Adds a bit of, intrigue or suspicion.
A bit creepy, maybe. But okay, beyond the drama, let's look at Sarah. Her record at Oceanside Connections was, well, really strong.
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. She tripled the client portfolio. That's huge.
Huge, and boosted revenue significantly. Plus, she was respected by the big accounts.
So there's this stark contrast, right, between her proven value and the reason she's suddenly being fired.
What does that say about, well, how some companies see loyalty versus contribution?
It suggests maybe a blind spot. Sometimes the best performers feel they have to look elsewhere if they're not valued where they are.
And Sarah's reaction, pretty calm, professional even, wishes them well.
Right, which shows a lot of self-control, I think. And that detail about the confused handshake from Catherine.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny flicker of doubt, uh-oh, maybe this wasn't the best move.
Could be. And then boom, the instant message from Robert Sterling, the CEO of Summit Enterprises.
Talk about a quick turn of events.
Seriously, it just flips the script immediately. You instantly know Catherine's move might backfire. Big time.
And this leads us into the backstory, right?
Yeah.
The years Sarah spent at Oceanside Connections.
Yeah, this wasn't like she just started. She came in entry level, worked her way up.
Took on tough projects, climbed the ladder, handled bigger accounts.
And eventually lands Summit Enterprises, their biggest client.
Which shows, real dedication and growth over time, a big investment from her.
And get this, Robert Sterling at Summit specifically asked for her to manage the account.
That's massive validation, isn't it? Clear proof of her skill and the relationship she built.
Totally. But despite all that, despite the company doing well, record profits, Catherine gets a new SUV, they're expanding the office. Her requests for a raise denied repeatedly.
And the excuses sound familiar, right? Not in the budget, maybe next year. We're investing in infrastructure.
Classic lines. So what does that gap tell you? Companies making bank, top performer gets nothing.
Well, it really points to a potential disconnect, doesn't it? Where company success doesn't automatically flow down to the people driving it. It suggests priorities might be skewed.
Skewed is a good word. Like they were happy to benefit from her work, but not actually, invest in her.
Exactly. And the key point here is when she finally updated her resume, the story says it was out of self-respect, not really anger.
That feels important. It wasn't impulsive. It was like, okay, I need to value myself if they won't.
Right. A deliberate step. So back to the moments after the firing. Sarah's initially in shock, obviously.
Which is natural. Suddenly unemployed.
But the news travels fast.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mark, the IT guy who's dating Chloe, another colleague.
Ah, office grapevine.
Always reliable. And Chloe's reaction. She's outraged.
Right.
Supportive.
Yeah, and she nails it, suggesting Catherine might have felt, intimidated by Sarah being so good at her job.
Which happens. But the real kicker is Catherine calling it corporate treason for looking elsewhere.
After years of denying Sarah any advancement, the irony is thick.
It really is. It brings up that whole question of what loyalty even means. Is it blind devotion or is it earned?
Chloe's point is interesting, too, that Sarah stayed loyal more to her clients and her colleagues than the company itself.
Which highlights that loyalty isn't just, upwards to the boss. It's often sideways to the people you work with, the work you do.
Okay, which loops us back to Robert Sterling's call from Summit. The timing is just perfect.
Almost too perfect.
Yeah.
And he wants to talk right away, accelerate things. That shows how much they wanted her.
And his words, sometimes these things have a way of working out for the best. It's almost like he knew.
Well, it certainly must have felt like a lifeline to Sarah at that moment, a bit of validation when she really needed it.
Yeah, that feeling of being set free, she describes, and deciding to wear her best suit for the meeting.
It's symbolic, isn't it? Taking back control, stepping into a new possibility.
Definitely. So she goes to Summit, and the story contrasts the two offices, right? Oceanside's older place versus Summit's modern setup.
Yeah, that can often reflect company culture, old school versus forward thinking.
And Robert Sterling meets her himself in reception. That's a different level of respect already.
A huge difference. It wasn't just a standard interview. It felt more like a continuation of their existing professional relationship, which shows the value of building those connections.
And then, during that meeting, Catherine calls Robert.
Oh, the desperation. Trying to salvage the Summit account after firing the person who managed it.
You can just picture it. But Robert reveals something key. Summit's board already had concerns about Oceanside.
Right. Things like slow responses, maybe quality slipping. They felt taken for granted.
So Sarah leaving wasn't the only issue. It was more like the final straw.
Exactly. Summit wasn't just trying to poach her. They had their own business reasons. Sarah's availability just made the decision easier, faster.
And then comes the offer. Director of Client Strategy. Leading a team. Managing partnerships.
A big step up. And the salary is significantly more than what she'd even asked for at Oceanside.
It's a massive validation, and Robert's comment nails it. Sometimes it takes leaving a situation to realize what you're truly worth.
That's such a powerful insight, isn't it? For anyone feeling stuck or undervalued, know your market worth.
Absolutely. So what's happening back at Oceanside while Sarah's getting this amazing offer? Chaos, apparently.
Sounds about right. Catherine's holding emergency meetings, spinning this narrative about Sarah's disloyalty.
Which probably wasn't landing well with colleagues who knew Sarah's work ethic.
Likely not. And Mark's text about other account managers already polishing their resumes. That suggests the rot might be deeper. People saw the writing on the wall.
Then, another twist. A call from Susan Davies, a board member at Oceanside.
Now the higher-ups are involved. The panic is spreading.
And suddenly now they're interested in Sarah's compensation after years of saying no.
Funny how the potential loss of a huge client focuses the mind, isn't it?
It isn't just. But Sarah's response is brilliant. Calm, professional, but firm.
She points out it's not just about the money anymore. It's about the lack of respect shown earlier.
That line is powerful. It's about respect and recognizing employee worth before they have one foot out the door.
Mic drop moment, really. That resonates. It's a message for every manager, every company.
Totally. And even though the board member, Susan, pushes for an in-person meeting.
Sarah agrees, but only for professional closure. She makes it clear she's not coming back to negotiate. She's already moved on.
Maintaining control, setting boundaries. Very impressive.
So this leads to her final visit to Oceanside. Kind of a closing chapter.
And her colleague Lisa is supportive, which again shows Sarah built good relationships there.
Mm-hmm. And Susan Davies, the board member, actually admits she wasn't fully aware of the pattern of denied raises.
Interesting. A disconnect between the board and day-to-day management, maybe? Or plausible deniability?
Could be either. But Susan questions the justification for the firing itself, which implies the board might not have fully backed Catherine's decision initially, or at least they regret it now.
And then comes the big counteroffer from the board. Reinstatement, big raise, promotion to senior account director.
A massive attempt to undo the damage. But it's too late, isn't it?
Way too late. Sarah rejects it politely but firmly. She's committed to Summit.
As she should be. And Susan's concern immediately pivots back to Summit, possibly pulling their business.
Which confirms where their real anxiety lies, the client, not necessarily Sarah herself, even now.
And Sarah handles it professionally, saying that's a question for Summit, not her.
Smart move. Then Susan asks the crucial question, what could Oceanside have done differently to keep you?
And Sarah's answer just sums it all up.
Recognize my value before I had to look elsewhere to find it. Loyalty works both ways. An unsustainable imbalance.
Perfectly put. Clear, concise, and gets right to the heart of the matter. The need for reciprocity.
Leaving that office for the last time, she describes feeling lighter, like she's reclaimed her story. It's a powerful image.
Yeah, a real sense of liberation. And then life at Summit starts.
And it sounds like the opposite of Oceanside. A proper office, a welcome basket, introductions.
Validation.
Recognition from day one. And the irony, she might now oversee marketing partnerships, potentially including Oceanside one day.
Talk about tables turning.
Yeah.
And Summit's exec team asks for her input on the Oceanside contract renewal.
But she handles it with integrity, right? Evaluating them objectively like any other vendor.
Exactly. Based on performance, consistency, account management, not revenge.
Which speaks volumes about her professionalism. She recused herself from the final decision too, apparently.
Smart. Avoids any conflict of interest, real or perceived. But the outcome.
Summit decides to move the account to a competitor, Zenith Group. And they communicate this exactly 1 week after Sarah was fired.
Wow. Swift consequences. Professionally worded email, but the message is crystal clear.
You can only imagine Catherine's reaction to that email landing.
Oh boy. And Lisa's LinkedIn message later confirms the chaos back at Oceanside. Other managers jumping ship. Karma works fast, as Lisa apparently put it. It shows the ripple effect of one bad decision, one undervalued employee.
But Sarah's focused on her new role, building her team. As the story says, success was the best revenge.
It really was. She connects with Lisa on LinkedIn, wishes her well, moves forward. No bitterness.
So the conclusion seems to be that valuing yourself is key. And sometimes a bad situation, like Catherine firing her.
Actually gives you the push you need to find something much, much better. Catherine inadvertently helps Sarah find her true worth.
Okay, so let's recap the big takeaways here. What really stands out?
Well, first, the absolute need for companies to genuinely recognize and reward employee contributions, not just with words, but with fair pay and respect.
Right. And second, this idea that loyalty isn't a one-way street. It has to be earned by the employer, too. It's an exchange.
Definitely. And third, underestimating or undervaluing your key talent. That can have very real, very fast, and very negative consequences for the business, like losing your biggest client.
The aha moments for me were like how quickly things turned around for Sarah, the immediate interest from Summit.
Yeah, that was striking. And the board's sudden, almost desperate focus on her value after she was gone.
Totally. Compared to their previous indifference. And ultimately, the massive loss for Oceanside Connections. It felt inevitable somehow after Catherine's move.
So for you listening, Sarah's story is pretty dramatic, but maybe it resonates. Have you ever felt that imbalance, giving loyalty but not feeling valued back?
Maybe you've seen the subtle signs, the excuses instead of raises, the lack of recognition.
Which brings us to our final thought to leave you with. What proactive steps can you take? Either to make sure your value is seen where you are, or
to recognize when maybe it's time to look elsewhere. Because, as Sarah's story shows, sometimes those unexpected endings.
They can really be the start of significant and much better new beginnings.
Something to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.